The sky started talking on an ordinary October evening in 1957. Something strange happened across towns in the United States, across quiet countryside in the United Kingdom. People stepped outside and looked up at the sky. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The same stars, the same moon, the same endless darkness. But then someone noticed it. A tiny, moving light. It didn't flicker like a star. It didn't blink like an airplane. It moved steadily, deliberately, silently cutting across the sky. Within hours, radios buzzed with the same message. A man-made object is orbiting Earth. That object was Sputnik 1, launched by the Soviet Union. And in that moment, the sky was no longer just a place of wonder. It became a place of human presence. Asterisk. Before the sky was touched long, before satellites, Earth felt bigger. Not physically, but experientially distance mattered. If someone in London wanted to send a message to New York, it would take days, sometimes weeks. Ships carried letters across oceans. Telegraph cables stretched beneath the sea like fragile veins connecting continents. Communication was slow. Information was delayed, and uncertainty was part of daily life. Weather forecasts, often inaccurate. Navigation, dependent on stars, compasses, and human intuition. War strategy, limited by what could be seen or intercepted. Human civilization functioned, but it was confined. The sky above remained untouched, mysterious, and silent. Asterisk. The idea that came before reality in 1945, as the world was recovering from the devastation of World War II. A British thinker dared to imagine something radical. His name was Arthur C. Clarke. He wrote about a future where machines could orbit Earth and act as communication relays, transmitting signals across the globe instantly. At the time, it sounded impossible. Rockets were primitive. Space travel was still a dream. The idea of placing objects in orbit seemed like fiction, but Clarke saw something others didn't. He understood that above Earth there was a unique zone, a place where an object could move in sync with the planet's rotation, a orbit. If a satellite were placed there, it could hover over a single point on Earth. That idea would later become the foundation of modern communication. But first, humanity needed to reach space. Asterisk. The first leap into orbit, the birth of Sputnik 1, on October 4th, 1957. History changed forever. From a remote launch site in Kazakhstan, the Soviet Union launched a rocket into the sky. Inside it was a small object, simple by today's standards, but revolutionary at the time. A polished metal sphere, 58 centimeters in diameter, weighing just 83 kilograms. It had no camera, no advanced sensors, only a transmitter. And when it reached orbit, it began sending a signal. Beep, beep, beep. That sound echoed across radios worldwide. It was humanity's first voice in space. Asterisk. Shock, fear, and the beginning of the space race. The reaction in the United States was immediate and intense. If the Soviet Union could send a satellite into orbit, what else could they send? Missiles, weapons, surveillance systems. Fear turned into urgency. Within months, The U.S. responded with its own satellite. Explorer 1, developed under the newly formed NASA, the space race had begun. It wasn't just about exploration anymore. It was about power, intelligence, survival, asterisk. Why satellites became essential satellites quickly evolved from experimental objects into essential tools. They answered fundamental human needs. Communications eliminate distance. Weather monitoring too, predict storms and save lives. Surveillance too, observe from above. Scientific understanding to study. Earth as a system. Satellites gave humanity summeth asterisk the fear that fueled innovation in the United States. Classrooms changed overnight. Children were encouraged to study math and science. Universities received massive funding. Engineers became the new soldiers of a silent war. The Cold War had found a new battlefield, space. The Soviet Union had struck first, but America was determined not to fall behind. The creation of NASA in 1958 marked a turning point. This was no longer just competition. It was a race for the future. Asterisk satellites begin to evolve early. Satellites were simple, but soon they became more complex, more capable, more essential. Weather satellites began to capture images of Earth's atmosphere. Communication satellites started relaying signals across continents. Spy satellites, silent and unseen, began watching from above. One of the most important breakthroughs came with geostationary satellite. Just as imagined by Arthur C. Clarke, these satellites could remain fixed over one point on Earth, enabling continuous communication. The world was becoming smaller. Asterisk watching the weather from space before satellites. Hurricanes arrived like unexpected monsters. Communities had little warning. Destruction was often unavoidable, but satellites changed. They gave meteorologists a new perspective. An eye in the sky. Storms could be tracked. Patterns could be studied. Warnings could be issued. Millions of lives have been saved because of satellites. Asterisk the rise of intelligence from above. Satellites also became tools of surveillance. High above Earth, they could capture images of military bases, missile sites, and troop movements. They could see what humans could not. During tense moments of the Cold War, satellites helped prevent misunderstandings that could have led to nuclear war in a strange way. They became guardians of peace. Asterisk the moon landing connections didn't just help us observe Earth, they helped us leave it. The Apollo 11 moon landing, one of humanity's greatest achievements, heavily on satellite technology. Communication between astronauts and Earth, navigation through space, data transmission, all depended on the principles developed through satellites. When Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface, the world watched live thanks to satellite communication. Asterisk the communication revolution expands. By the 1970s and 1980s, satellites had become a backbone of global communication. International phone calls became easier. Television broadcasts crossed borders effortlessly. Events like royal weddings, global sports competitions, and breaking news were watched by millions. Simultaneously. The world was no longer divided by distance, it was connected. Asterisk the internet era and satellites. As The internet began to rise in the 1990s. Satellites found a new role. They helped connect remote areas where cables could not reach, from deserts to oceans, from mountains to isolated islands. Satellites brought information to places that had never been connected before. Today, satellite internet is expanding rapidly, bringing digital access to billions. The precision of modern navigation, driving without GPS, no maps, no directions, no real-time tracking. That was life before satellite navigation. Today, systems like GPS provide pinpoint accuracy from smartphones to airplanes, from ships to delivery services. Navigation has become effortless. Time itself is synchronized using satellite signals. Scientific discoveries from orbit. Climate change, ocean currents, ice caps, forest coverage, they help scientists understand how Earth is changing. They also look beyond Earth into deep space, collecting data about distant galaxies and cosmic phenomena. The iconic eye in space, the power of observation. One of the most famous satellites ever built is the Hubble Space Telescope. Launched in 1990, it gave humanity its clearest view of the universe. It captured breathtaking images of galaxies, nebulae, and distant stars. It didn't just show us space, it showed us our place within it. Failures, accidents, and lessons learned. Not every satellite mission succeeds. Some fail during launch, others malfunction in orbit. There have been collisions, creating dangerous debris fields. Each failure, however, teaches valuable lessons, and with each lesson, technology improves. The growing problem of space debris. Thousands of inactive satellites orbit Earth. Fragments from explosions and collisions create a dangerous environment. Even a small piece of debris can destroy an active satellite. This growing issue threatens the future of space operations. Scientists and engineers are now working on solutions. Debris removal systems, safer satellite designs, controlled re-entry. Private space revolution. For decades, space was controlled by governments. But today, private companies are changing everything. One of the most influential is SpaceX, with reusable rockets and ambitious projects. SpaceX has dramatically reduced launch costs. Their satellite network, Starlink, aims to provide global internet coverage. Thousands of satellites are already in orbit, and more are coming. Satellites and everyday life. Most people don't think about satellites, but they rely on them every day. Checking weather on your phone, watching live TV, using Google Maps, making international calls. All of these depend on satellites. That they are invisible but essential. Power, privacy, and controlled with great power comes great responsibility. Satellites can observe Earth in incredible detail. This raises concerns about privacy and surveillance. Who controls the data? How is it used? These questions are becoming more important as technology advances. The future of satellite technology. The future promises even greater innovation. AI-powered satellites, autonomous space systems, interplanetary communication networks. Satellites may one day support Mars missions, space colonies, deep space exploration. Humanity is just getting started. The invisible network takes shape by the late 20th century. Satellites were no longer rare objects. They had become a network, a web, surrounding Earth. Each satellite had a purpose. Each orbit had a role. Some circled close to Earth fast, efficient, constantly moving. These were low Earth orbit satellites. Others floated farther away medium orbits, supporting navigation systems like GPS. And then there were the giants, high above Earth. In geostationary orbit, satellites remained fixed, watching the same part of the planet endlessly. This invisible structure became the nervous system of humanity. Signals traveled through it like thoughts through a brain. A world that became smaller distance lost its power. A child in London could watch events happening live in New York. Fishermen in the Indian Ocean could receive weather alerts. A pilot flying across the Atlantic could navigate with precision. Satellites didn't just connect places, they connected lives. Cultures began to mix. Information began to flow freely. The world became smaller. The minds behind the machines behind every satellite were people. Engineers who worked for years on a single design. Scientists who calculated orbits with incredible precision. Technicians who assembled delicate components in sterile rooms. And sometimes individuals whose ideas changed everything, like Arthur C. Clarke, who imagined communication satellites long before they existed, or the countless unnamed engineers who turned imagination into reality. Their work was invisible to the public, but it shaped the modern world. The drama of launch day is never ordinary. It begins in silence. Engineers monitor systems. Computers run final checks. The rocket stands tall, filled with energy, waiting. Then the countdown begins. 10, 9, 8. Each second carries years of work. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Fire erupts beneath the rocket. The ground trembles. The sky lights up. And slowly the rocket rises, carrying a satellite and the hopes of thousands into space. The moment of separation at the edge of space, something critical happens. The satellite separates from the rocket. For a brief moment, it floats freely. Then it begins its journey. It is no longer part of Earth. It is part of orbit. From that moment on, it must survive on its own. Life and death in space satellites. Life is limited. Solar panels generate power. Batteries store energy. Systems operate continuously. But over time, things wear out. Fuel runs low. Components degrade. Eventually, the satellite dies. Some burn up as they fall back to Earth. Others remain silent. Drifting. Ghosts of human achievement. The growing danger above space is no longer empty. Thousands of satellites, millions of fragments, all moving at incredible speeds. A collision could create a chain reaction, destroying more satellites, creating more debris, scenario known as the Kessler syndrome. If it happens, space could become too dangerous to use. Humanity's greatest achievement could become its greatest risk. The rise of megaconstellations in recent years. A new idea has emerged. Not one satellite. Not 10, but thousands. Companies like SpaceX have launched massive constellations like Starlink, that their goal, global internet coverage, even in the most remote parts of the world, deserts, oceans, mountains, no place left disconnected. Signals that power civilization every second. Satellites transmit signals, billions of them. These signals guide airplanes, enable banking systems, synchronize global time support emergency services. Without them, modern society would struggle to function. That they are not just tools, they are infrastructure. A planet seen from above satellites gave humanity a new perspective. For the first time, we could see Earth as a whole, a blue planet floating in darkness. Borders became invisible. Conflicts seemed smaller. The environment became clearer. Satellites helped us understand climate change. They showed us melting ice caps, deforestation, rising sea levels. That they didn't just connect us, they made us aware. Science without limits, expanded science beyond imagination. The Hubble Space Telescope looked deep into the universe. It captured light from galaxies billions of years old. It showed us that the universe is vast and expanding. Other satellites studied solar radiation, magnetic fields, cosmic background signals. Each discovery changed our understanding of reality. The ethical questions: with power comes responsibility. Satellites can observe Earth in incredible detail. They can track movement, monitor activity, collect data. This raises questions. Who owns the sky? Who controls the data? Where is the line between security and privacy? These are not just technical questions. They are human questions. Military power in orbits of tools are also tools of war. They provide intelligence, guide missiles, enable communication. Modern warfare depends heavily on space-based systems. If satellites are disabled, entire military systems could collapse. This makes space a strategic domain, not just for exploration, but for control. The future, beyond imagination, the future of satellites is just beginning. New technologies are emerging. AI-controlled satellites, autonomous repair systems, space-based manufacturing. Scientists are even exploring the idea of solar power stations in orbit, data centers in space, communication networks for Mars. Sky is no longer the limit. It is the starting point. The human story behind it, at its core. The story of satellites is a human story. A story of curiosity, of competition, of imagination. From the first idea of Arthur C. Clarke to the first signal of Sputnik 1 to the global networks of today. It is a story of progress, but also a story of responsibility. When silence turned into signals, there was a time when the sky was silent. No signals, no machines, no human presence, just stars. Then came a beat, a simple sound, but it changed everything. Today, the sky is alive with signals, invisible, constant, essential. Satellites guide us, connect us, protect us, and inform us. They have become part of our existence. And as humanity moves forward toward new planets, new technologies, new possibilities, one thing is certain. The moment we placed that first satellite into orbit, we didn't just change the sky, we changed ourselves.